Can somebody please explain to me why it is that I am not surprised that these people chose to, well, simp for the killer?
Kids were bullies. They attacked one person, outnumbered him. What was he supposed to do? Oh, but I forgot. It's only self-defense when it's convenient for you. It's called stand your ground. He said, there is a video. You'll see it in court. Just wait. Stop letting race-baiting headlines cloud the truth. This isn't about color. It's about right and wrong.
Bro, like dead ass serious, bro. As a black community, we have to do better, bro. I'm seeing freaking people of my skin like reposting bullshit, bro. Wait till the full story come out and then fucking repost it. I'm seeing people say, why does he got a knife at a track meet? What? Bro, this dude is black. Y'all don't know what we go through, bro. This dude could be living in the ghetto, bro. Real shit.
In a world where George Zimmerman walked free for going out of his way to kill an unarmed innocent black teen for walking in a neighborhood, when Curtis Reeves walked free for shooting someone because they threw popcorn on him during an argument, when Daniel Perry walked free for going out of his way to kill an unarmed homeless man, when Kyle Rittenhouse walked free for going out of his way to cross state lines to shoot protesters, I refuse to have sympathy for a white kid who started a fight that he couldn't finish. Keep your hands to yourself. This is an unfortunate case of self-defense, and I give my condolences to all parties. It's weird that y'all are using this tragedy to be racist, completely tarnishing the fact that a kid lost his life. To the point where Austin Metcalf's own father had to come out and say that y'all need to stop making this a race issue.
So I refuse to believe that this boy just acted off of emotions or whatever. So when you read it and you hear the stories, he's over there, the twin and the twin's friends are telling him to leave the area. Not only just telling him to leave the area, they say over a dispute over a seat. It was way more than a dispute over a seat. They grabbed his belongings, his bag, started stomping all of his stuff, threw his phone, stomped on his phone, all these other shenanigans, right? I don't know where the coaches were. I don't know. But it's like, be for real. These phones, these are not these little Nokias that we had back in the day. Phones cost some real money right now. So anybody's going to feel away if you're destroying their stuff. We don't know if the story that's being told by the children under the tent for that team is the truth or not. We don't know if he was trying to get his stuff. We don't know.
That, my friends, was only a small bit. Now, real quick, the video that I posted at 3 o'clock talked about the incident itself. And the incident that I'm talking about is the Texas high school track meet stabbing. The victim, Austin Metcalf, was stabbed in the chest by one Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player. A black individual, 17 years old. He cites self-defense, yet he actually told the police that he was the perp who did it, but then also cited self-defense after doing it. Now, guys, I'll catch you guys back up on this story here in a second with one of the news clips. And, of course, if you actually look into what was actually happening here, it looks pretty daggone disgusting, pretty daggone, how do I say, unsettling. Kind of cold in a lot of ways. But I talked about that incident more so in the previous video. So let me go ahead and get you guys caught up to speed. This news report is roughly 2 minutes long. It was the latest news report that was released yesterday with additional info. So that way you guys can kind of see where we're going to be going at with this.
Documents detail what may have happened in the moments leading up to the stabbing death of a Frisco ISD student, Austin Metcalf. It comes as the community continues to really process what all happened. Tonight, our Aaron Jones speaking to a crisis counselor who is now sharing some advice.
The Frisco Centennial High School student charged with stabbing Frisco Memorial student Austin Metcalf has been transferred to the Collin County Jail. Arrest documents state 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony was sitting under Frisco Memorial's pop-up tent at a track meet Wednesday morning. Metcalf told Anthony he needed to move. Then Anthony grabbed his bag, reached inside, and said, quote, "Touch me and see what happens." The documents say a short time later, Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Later telling an officer at the scene, "I'm not alleged, I did it. He put his hands on me, I told him not to." Anthony's bond was set at $1 million. Legal expert Philip Linder weighing in.
If there is no evidence of the young man who died having a deadly weapon or threatening to do serious harm to this kid, then he has no business using a knife. And so there will be no self-defense claim that he could really urge.
Metcalf's father tells us his son's twin, Hunter, witnessed what happened that day and tried to save his brother's life.
I need my son back, but that's not possible. All I can ask for is just pray.
Arrest documents show more than 30 students and coaches are also listed as witnesses to the violent.
So you guys obviously seen that. You guys obviously heard all that. Now, before we fully dig into this and we start talking about some of the false narratives around this case and some of the narratives that are being kicked around, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. It's the best way to support this channel for free. Also, make sure the notifications are on. And if you guys could, please hit that thumbs up button on your phone or your device on the video itself. Also on the Facebook post, when I posted there, you guys can follow it there. Hit like not only on the video, but please hit like on the Facebook post too, so that way it stands a better chance of getting out to a much, much larger audience. And let me go ahead and fully dig into this. Oh, real quick. Only one video will be released tomorrow. It will be my follow-up to the video that I had a while back on what's actually going on at the Daily Wire, what I think is actually going on. Just more of a breakdown of their situation, and I'm probably going to have a couple of updates in that video as well, seeing how it is that I haven't really done any sports content the past couple of days or anything related to some of the false narratives there. I think it's time for a couple of updates, and don't worry, that will be provided in that video there. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So many people are criticizing the father of Austin Metcalf, who you guys are seeing right here in the B-roll footage. I talked about the father in the previous video, and I talked about why it is that why he does not want this situation highly publicized or becoming politicized or even going national. It was understandable for the mother and Austin Metcalf's twin brother, in this case, to want justice. I actually believe that the father is just simply putting on a nice, friendly face, because I think the father himself also wants justice as well. However, given the fact that we talked about him in the previous video, you may, if you watch that video, you'll find out that he was actually a cancer survivor. He's probably going through a transitional stage in his life as far as his thinking is concerned, and it's understandable why he would actually forgive the kid in this case, because let's be honest, you become bitter over time. However, the problem is this here. You just lost your son. Your son is dead because a thug killed him maliciously, violently. I talked about this in the previous video, and I talked about why it is that I would actually want justice if this was my child. I talked about why it is that my parents, my family would want justice if this happened to me, if I was young, like Austin Metcalf was. But I also stated why it was that I understand the father's point of view, but still, though, at the same time, though, I think you can do two things at once. I did not explain what I just said now in the previous video, but I'm explaining it now. You can forgive, but also at the same time demand justice. That right there may be another video later on in the day. Well, I'll probably come back to it a little bit later on this video here. But there was one thing that I did not get to, and of course that right there is the frequency of these types of situations, the frequency of these types of incidents, and of course the fact is that many people automatically jump to the fact that, well, culture's not the problem here. Well, that right there is what we're going to be talking about in this video, as well as the false narrative. So let us go ahead and start with the first point. So these incidents seem to me like they've been happening a lot more recently. I played a little bit of this segment from Jason Whitlock's show earlier. This clip's a little over 2 minutes. I kind of edited some things out, some of the minutia, just to kind of speed things up. But let me play this for you.
Treat Austin Metcalf the way the Cowboys treated George Floyd, taking a knee all over the place? What's more of a tragedy? George Floyd overdosing on fentanyl under the knee of Derek Chauvin, or this 17-year-old boy, honor roll student, devout Christian, stabbed in the heart at a track meet? No one's outraged. No, that's a misnomer. People are outraged. But these idolatrous, or these idols that have been installed in our culture, let's see if they have a word to say about this. I don't think they will. We've seen this before. Do you remember the shows I was doing a year and a half ago about the kid Ethan Liming? The 17-year-old, I believe, high school football player in Akron, Ohio, who got beaten up and killed in the parking lot of LeBron James's I Promise school. Everybody goes deathly silent when the white kid with the promising future gets killed by young black men. The boys that killed Ethan Lyman, they got 18 months in prison. They were found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter. A dispute over someone shooting water pellets at these two young black boys turns into the
Guys, like I said earlier to start this video, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised not one damn bit that the BLM types are out here simping for the killer in this case. I'm not surprised by this at all. This is not the first time they've done this. All right? And they did it then with the incident in Akron. I really and truly believe that what's going on here is that the media itself has jazzed a certain race to hate another race. Even though they have eyes to see, they can see what the hell is going on in front of them, but yet they're so jazzed up in front of the media that they believe everything the media says is true, denying what's actually in front of their face. This kid, Austin Metcalf, the only thing they did was ask this boy to move. That's the only thing they did, was ask him to simply move. And he said, touch me and see what happens. And he stabbed him. But of course, we got these people out here screaming and hollering, saying that, well, he was in the right. He wasn't the aggressor. I mean, look, I got into it with Daryl Scott, who attached himself to the Trump administration back in 2016. By the way, Trump's got to get rid of him because it's just another wokester in his ranks that's actually making things 10 times worse than what they really truly are. And for some out of during the discussion, during the argument, he cited Kyle Rittenhouse, Daniel Penny, and George Zimmerman. 3 cases where they all got off, were acquitted for the correct fucking reasons. Even some of those people are programmed by the media to believe white person bad. But still, though, I maintain it's the culture. The culture more than anything else. You want proof of this right? Look at Jason. He's obviously not white. Look at Black Conservative Perspective. Greg Foreman. He's not white. They're calling this mess out. Look at the officer Brandon Tatum. He's a black man. He's calling this out. I get pissed off when people say, well, it's the race itself. No, it's not. It's a certain swath, a certain sizable swath that's being controlled by the media, being manipulated by the media to feel a certain way. Where it is, there are people out there with eyes to see who, quite frankly, are actually smart and can actually decipher good from evil who are calling this out. It just so happens to be they have a certain different skin color. So no, it's culture, not race. Just saying, rant over, back on track. Now, one person who, how do I say, caught fire or got a lot of heat was Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, of course, you guys know from the Daily Wire, and of course we'll be talking about the Daily Wire tomorrow. He basically posted some interesting facts, the facts that, quite frankly, we always assert in these cases when it comes to crime and racial statistics and all that stuff there. And by the way, if you cite this stuff bit for bit, you can have your content removed. You guys remember Devin Tracy? I know I'm talking about somebody who's not as big as other content creators, but Devin Tracy ran a channel called Atheism is Unstoppable. Now, granted, I don't agree with his views on atheism or whatnot. I mean, I'm very, very much a Christian, and obviously this guy was, an atheist, of course. But one thing that Devin was very good at was he was very good at pointing out crime. He was very good on the crime topic, a lot like Sean Fitzgerald. I have some fundamental disagreements with him, too. Actual Justice Warrior does a very good job when it comes to the topic of crime. However, Atheism is Unstoppable, Devin Tracy, he was removed from this platform. He was removed from this platform because he pointed out the facts behind crime and race. He did this on TJ Kirk's show, The Amazing Atheist. If you don't know who the hell TJ Kirk is, The Amazing Atheist, he's the guy who shoved a banana up his ass thinking it would be kind of cool to own Ray Comfort. If you guys don't know who Ray Comfort is, he's a minister who's got this bit about bananas, and of course it's designed to be lighthearted and funny. It's basically one of the ways he proves that God exists, which of course I would be inclined to agree with him 100% because I'm a Christian. But of course it's not really that philosophical or that detailed of a reason why God exists, but still, though, at the same time, it was kind of a lighthearted way of saying it. And of course these people, these left-wingers, they thought it would be cool to own this guy by shoving a yellow orifice up one's ass. Or remember, what the hell, I don't really truly care. Let me get back on track. The point is, if you tell the truth on this platform, you cite the statistics, which of course will be in the description box, YouTube will find a way to knock the channel. And I think that a lot of these people out here who are pushing the narrative that Carmelo Anthony is the victim here, I think a lot of these people know this. As I've said before, this is what happens with society when you do not spank your children. This is what the hell happens when you do not discipline your children. They end up becoming ingrates who, quite frankly, are disrespectful, never been held accountable, and when they are held accountable, they respond in an extremely negative way. We could talk about fathers in the homes, no fathers in the homes. We can talk about all that there, but I believe that Jeremy at the quartering is the one who actually got this correct in this situation the other day when he spoke about this issue. By the way, the full video will be linked in the description box. Of course, what he decided to bring up outside the statistics, which of course you guys are seeing right here in the B-roll footage, because he discussed this stuff. He discussed the Department of Justice statistics. He discussed exactly the percentages, why it is that 5.4%, that's the actual population of black males in America, are supposedly responsible for 40% of the crime. He talked about even amongst the higher incomes, they're 5 more times likely to commit crimes, all that type of stuff there. And of course, somebody's going to come into the comment section of this video right here and they're going to scream racist without actually listening to my full bit, because at the end of the day, it goes back to good old-fashioned culture. But speaking of culture, there is one bit from Jeremy at the Quartering's response, or was actually his second video, that I want to touch on. So let me play this.
100 and let's just round it up to 130,000. That's not that big of a roundup. 130,000 out of 355,000. I'll round that down to compensate. They are 5% of the population, and they represent nearly 40% of all violent crime. Of all violent crime. Again, let me say that. Black males represent 5% of the total population in the United States, yet represent nearly 40% of all violent crime. If we want to say, if we want to say just black, okay, we want to roll the women into it, fine. It's 14% of the population. All right. 14.4% of the population committing 40% of the crime. Now, the left will say, well, you're still more likely to lose your life to a white person. Yes, you are. That's true. Statistically, that's true. But that also does not discount the fact that this community has a major, major issue. I mean, from a community that needs fathers, that needs to know self-worth, the real problem is that they don't think their lives have any value. And so they'll do anything because they don't see any value in their life.
That is not a lie. That is not a lie. Jeremy's correct. You're not giving these men, especially black men, you're not giving them a reason to fight or a reason to live. You're not doing that. You're basically going out of your way to say to them that you're more than likely going to become a statistic. You're not striving for anything greater in life. And trust me, white people have got problems too. Like I said before, somebody will come in here and scream Klansman, or they'll scream outright racist before listening to what they'll have to actually say. You've got some people out there who would be closer to my thinking, who have automatically just went ahead and gone out there and decided to make this a racial thing. Ruin Leon made a very good video on this. I advise you guys go check it out, of course, but still, though, at the same time, Ruin Leon also left some things out that were very important that I'm about to leave in. But then again, at the same time, though, he is a very good commentator, and the video he did make on this topic is very, very well nuanced. I'm talking about a take that comes from somebody who lives in South Africa, who's already got a slanted point of view against a certain race because their race is getting absolutely annihilated by said race, yet not to mention the fact that you're also people of same said race that is annihilating your race that are also getting hurt as well. By the way, this same said individual, I'm not going to mention his name, has never even been to the United States and has gone on this anti-American kick that's absolutely outright insane, absolutely stupid. You're coming at this perspective probably from the wrong direction, which, by the way, if I didn't mention before, there is going to be a bit in this video where I'm going to talk about what probably happens in the future over said incident. But still, well, let me get back on track. The point is this right here. It's about the culture. If you break down the statistics, you need to also then turn back around and look at the locations. You'll find out that a lot of cases, a lot of this crime is occurring in very, very big blue cities. Yes, I have to go political again for the purposes of going political, but it's true. Some of these cities, by the way, are blue cities that reside in red states. Like, for example, St. Louis is in Missouri. That's a red state. New Orleans is a blue city in a red state, being Louisiana. Of course, we all know about New York. We all know about Chicago. We all know about Minneapolis. We already know about some of the areas in very, very blue states. We already know all this stuff right here. But if you actually look into it, that right there is where the bulk of the crime occurred. And this situation occurred in Frisco, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. Collin County, Denton County, Fort Worth area. I've been there before. Very, very nice area. The point is this right here. They're small towns outside of a big city. It's the overall culture. Guys, I live in North Carolina. I am around people who are black all the time. We grew up with one another. It's one of the reasons why it is that I always tell people, and people who move down here from up north, say from New York or Illinois, they always say stuff like, man, you guys have actually got it a lot more together. If you listen to Richard Barris, the People's Pundit, he will tell you that if you go up north, there's this great big giant segment up there that believes that the South is nothing more than still a holdover from Jim Crow, from the Jim Crow era. And that right there is not the truth at all. We've actually developed, we've actually progressed, we actually work with one another, we go to school with one another, we go to church with one another, we play sports with one another. And these incidents are fewer and far between because we're not really truly thinking about race, because chances are we probably already know the person, or we've spent time around the person, and we have an idea of exactly how to act in each other's communities. It's something that, quite frankly, many people who move down here to the South automatically have already got preconceived notions that we're all a bunch of racists and a bunch of bigots, when in reality, within a few months of actually being down here, they found out that we're actually much, much more progressive on this topic than they would think. Like I said, many Northerners, they come down here and they find out very, very quickly that it's not the Jim Crow South anymore. Where if you go up north, you find out that there are more communities that are actually segregated. Funny how that works. But still, though, the point is this right here. It comes down to culture. Now, granted, what I just said, and I'm about to say something anecdotal, that right there being the fact that many black men, many black people around this area that I live in, most of them are raised right, working 1 to 2 jobs at a time. Many black mothers do so as well. You don't see as many incidents that you see online where kids are getting bullied. My God, if you open up the X feed, you can find several pages that dedicate themselves to showing fights that occurred in high school, and they always seem to have some form of a racial connotation to them. Of which, by the way, I'm not denying a problem at all. Trust me, I am not denying a problem. I'm not denying the issues. I'm not denying the statistics. What I'm just simply saying is that they all tend to have a bit of a trend. They typically tend to be what? Big city areas, much, much more segregated. This incident right here that occurred was inside of a smaller town, Frisco, which is also a suburb of Dallas. And while there was definitely malice in this kid, Carmelo Anthony's heart, the point is this right here. It seems to me like this situation has been made much, much more racial than it needs to be made, but it does lead to an interesting conversation a little bit later on. So what is that conversation? Well, what is going to happen in the future? I love to cite this clip from Charleston White because Charleston White actually nails it. Let me play it all the way through.
So it's obvious why they don't like us. Just look around on your job. We the loudest, we come in. If we having a bad day, we go tell them off we ain't take what we not gonna put up with. And we're not the brightest. We're not, we used to be at the front of the pack, homie, in the 60s and the 50s. We're not the brightest anymore. And we ain't the strongest and the toughest like we think we are. That's why the white boys got into UFC and started kicking their ass. Yeah, we just know how to use our hands and fight.
Them niggas using feet,
elbows. Man, that's why the funniest looking. That's why UFC came about, homie. Yeah. And UFC also became a training ground for white supremacy kids. That's been bullied because we've been bullying people for a long time. So, you know, we had the physical and the body structure and the athleticism and the agility to physically empower everybody until they start.
You're going to see more white kids take karate. You're going to see more white kids take self-defense courses. You're going to see more white kids get heavily involved and take care of themselves. That right there is what's going to happen. Now, me personally, I'm the kind of guy who believes that if 2 people have got a problem, 2 men have got a problem, they probably need to step out back and they probably need to be in a controlled environment and they probably need to work that issue out. Whether it be through talk or whether it be through hands or whatever, I think that that's the best way to handle it. This right here was a situation where a boy simply asked another boy to leave because he was in the wrong area and he grabbed a book bag. And, of course, the other kid had basically dared him, please touch me. And, of course, he just went through. And then next thing you know, the boy got stabbed in the chest. Yet, of course, to go on top of this, we've got all these BLM types, these people who simp for this crap or simping for the killer out here simping for the killer, which, of course, is exactly what they were going to do. That's how we've conditioned our society. However, the issue is this right here. This right here is probably more along the lines of how this boy was raised. It was probably the culture itself. And like I said before, while not denying the facts, obviously some people have picked up on this trend, and they're obviously taking certain measures to prevent said entity from destroying themselves. By the way, when I say entity, I'm talking about an entity that's being controlled and fueled by our current mainstream media narratives. Those mainstream media narratives, which, by the way, go out of their way to get certain said race to act a certain way, vote a certain way, while at the exact same time ignoring the deaths that occur in Chicago and many other large cities, but yet at the same exact time going out of their way to completely ignore an incident and the truth about an incident that occurred in a small town in Texas right outside of Dallas that clearly had some evil intentions behind it, yet they needed to actually cover this, and they will not cover this because they know that if they do cover this, they know that they're going to upset the same group of people that they pander to every 2 to 4 freaking years. And that, my friends, is the truth of this situation. You tell me what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. If you guys can, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comments. If you think I'm wrong, please say so. But I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say, and I'll see you guys later.